All right. So here for the interview this week, we have Mr. Jesus Hernandez. Jesus is somebody that, just like me, he came over from the solar industry. And Jesus, I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly how long, but he'd been doing solar for a while, been doing sales for a decent amount of time. Of course, I'll kind of let him explain that. And, didn't have like immediate success like his first few weeks. But now, as you guys saw on the issue paid leaderboard, he's number four in the entire agency with still a week left in the month. Has already issue paid over $40,000 in February, which is awesome. Which is like 99.9% of people in life insurance would be extremely happy to issue pay $40,000 a month. You know, um, so yeah, Jesus, just real quick, give us your background on like what you did before getting into life insurance and like I guess how long you did it for. Just like what'd you do sales wise before getting into this?
Hey everyone, so my name's Jesus. I've been in life insurance for right around 5 months right now. Like Joey said, over the last couple of years, last 6 years, I was on and off sales for solar, uh, did luxury backyards for a little bit, and the process of that was just not what I was looking for. I mean, closing it just for me it took way too long, just because with solar you either have to have a team or you have to go out and find the deal yourself. So that means you're out there knocking the doors 8 to 10 hours a day. Um, once you get once you finally do get that appointment, you have to go into the house and spend another 2 3 hours with the client, and then hope that they pass credit. So when I found out about life insurance, I figured, well, if they're putting in the request and I all I have to do is call them and close the deal myself, I already trust myself to close an account, so why not? And that was probably the best thing that I saw about it, that we didn't have to spend 3 4 hours with a client. So it was kind of a no brainer for me, especially knowing that there's a system already built. I don't have to reinvent a wheel. I'm just here to follow exactly what somebody else is doing and just duplicate it and put it into my own.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so you did have a little bit of sales experience, obviously, which everybody knows kind of helps, but still in like a new industry, there's a learning curve. Like there was for me, there is for everybody. What did like your first, I guess, 60 days look like? And what did you do? Like, what was your schedule like? How did you train? Like, what advice, I guess, would you give to a new agent in those first 60 days to where it's like they can speed that learning curve up? And how was it like for you?
So my first day dialing was actually right after the Ignite event in Miami, and I think I dialed that day maybe 10 hours, and I think I went like 8 hours without, well, I had practiced the script that day too, just because I tried reading it before dialing, and I kind of got a headache. I was like, okay, well, I'm super hands on. I'll just kind of read it as I go, and I mean, I just figured, okay, I have to read this and kind of fail to know exactly where I'm messing up and figure out how I could get paid. So from then, I think that day I probably had like three presentations, probably messed up the first three. By the fourth one, I had already closed one, and I thought, well, wow, if I close one today, I just have to accept the fact that this is going to be my lowest paid month, and just kind of look forward to getting better at this and figuring out exactly how to get paid. So my first week, actually my first 2 months, first 60 days, it was a lot of 12-hour shifts, just because I kept on hearing everybody, okay, if you're not working 12 hours a day, you're not going to make any money. And I figured, okay, so if I don't follow this, I'm just not going to make any money. I'm here to make more money than what I was already making. So in door to door, we were already working 10, 12-hour days. So I figured, let's just keep it going and work 12-hour days here. So for anybody that's brand new and you're thinking, well, 12 hours a day is just too much. I feel like 8 hours a day, getting paid 20 an hour is too little. You gotta, what I've been telling a lot of people that want to join is kind of like with a bird. If a bird lands on a branch, does the bird, trust that the branch is going to stay sturdy, or does it trust that if it breaks, it's just going to fly? That's literally just what I believed in. I was like, I trust myself. I know if I follow this system, I'm gonna, do great. But for 60 days was rough though. At the end of the day, just because like how you said, it was a learning curve. I think I got that first deal my first weekend. think I maybe got 4 deals in 2 weeks. So I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I messed up, but like I said, I just kept on thinking, well, our boy Eric, I think he probably hit like 120 that month. I was like, you know, this is I just got to accept the fact that this is just going to be a terrible month, and just look forward to getting better.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, like some people do come out and do 20, 30K their first month, but
Right.
there's more stories of the opposite where somebody will go, their first 30 days, 60 days not do great and then just have like that breakout moment. What was you I think for you it was like a day when you like closed five, something like that. And it's like ever since then you were just like doing great. But what kind of was it like that? Like what finally clicked to where you had like that? Obviously, you had accumulated a good bit of state licenses, and that definitely helps, right? But at
Yeah.
what point was it just like, okay, boom, I have this figured out?
Well, I still feel like I haven't have it. I still don't have it figured out. I'm still practicing every day, still looking at trainings every single day, still attending the trainings every single week as well. But what really clicked for me was just kind of figuring out exactly what the client needs. So they put in the request, and you kind of just ask them what it is that they want. At the beginning of the call. Okay, so you were just wanting to get your unexpected funeral expenses covered, right? And at at the beginning, I was kind of like stuck right there. Like, do these people even want this? Does this even help them? But once you
Uh,
figure out that this is exactly what.
Andrew,
Sorry, I think you're. Did I just hear someone?
No, you're good. I think it was somebody
Okay.
accidentally unmuting.
Yeah. So, sorry to get back on topic. So what set it off for me is, this is a product that's needed for these people. These people want to make sure that their family's covered. So, you'll attend the trainings, and they're saying, well, if you hang up the phone on them or you let them hang up on you, you're doing their family a disservice. So I figured, if I'm not here, convincing these people to protect their family, they they have nobody else that's going to do that for them. They're 80 years old, 85 years old. They don't got a savings. you know I've gone through it myself, raising funds up for funerals myself, as in, having a GoFundMe, doing car washes. And I just relate that to the customers. Okay, ma'am, so with this, we're just going to make sure, if you were to pass away, that your family doesn't have to do any sort of fundraising. They're not going to have to go outside and, ask people for money, where you're going to get it handled yourself. And that's exactly what you want to do, right? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I don't want to be a burden to my family. I want to make sure that they have exactly what they need.
Yeah, I've noticed you're very good at that. You're very good at like building the why with people on the phone and just reconfirming it a bunch of different times. Like every section of the script, you're like, okay, but this is the goal, right? You just want to get this accomplished, and then you just keep hammering that. What is kind of like besides, do you do anything, Jesus, for new agents, especially in that first 60 to 90 days, besides the Monday, Wednesday, Friday trainings, like the agency trainings? Did you do anything else outside of that? Like, did you listen to YouTube videos? Did you do role? I know me and you did a few role plays, but like, what did you kind of do outside of like the five trainings the agency does every single week?
So I did bother a couple of my friends to try and get them. Well, I went through the script with other people as well. Kind of figured out, like, let me get somebody that's not in the industry. Let me go through it with them and get their feedback from it, to see how it is exactly how I sound. And, like, for example, when I was getting to asking them for their social, at the beginning I was kind of scared. You're like, oh, I wouldn't want to give my social out to somebody, but at the end of the day, these people put in the request, so we need their social, right? So, like, back then, I was like, oh, I need the social for the medical report. And it's kind of just like, oh, it's the medical report, but no, it's a super important thing. We need to figure out exactly what's wrong with them to get them approved for this. So I would just practice that with friends, go back and forth with them, and ask them, hey, do I sound confident when I say this? And they're like, yeah, or no, or you need to work on that. And then if I need to keep on working on it, I just kept on redoing that, kept on role playing again, kept it going, didn't stop. Still do to this day.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I know that's like something you do kind of outside of dialing. And I know, so for people that don't know, Jesus lives in Vegas. So that's Mountain Time Zone, right?
A Pacific.
Oh, you're on Pacific now? Okay.
Yeah.
What is your typical schedule? Like typical Monday through Saturday? I know you work 6 days a week typically. Typically, what's your schedule like on a normal day? I know obviously stuff can happen, but usually when do you start and when do you stop?
So at the beginning, it, I needed to find my rhythm, which was like I said, I had to implement those 12-hour days, but I was getting on a little bit later. I was getting on kind of like 7:45 ish to 8:30, and then I worked all the way up until 7 p.m. But I felt like that was just kind of too late, getting on at 7:45, 8:30 ish, just because on the East Coast it's already by then it's like 11 a.m. or 10:45 a.m. And I'm thinking, well, shit, we got our East Coast people already dialing them by then. So right now I get on right around 7 a.m. and I keep on working until like 6 p.m. ish, depending. If I have somebody else on Discord with me, I might stay on a little bit longer, till 7 p.m. But I have a daughter at the end of the day too, so sometimes I feel like it's super selfish that I do stay on for as long as I do. And I try and get off and try and hang out with her for as much as possible. But I also do let her know that I'm wanting to sacrifice this year as well to get ahead as much as possible to make sure that by the time next year that I do have more free time. So I'm just kind of trying to tunnel visual as much as possible, making sure I get to my end goal, which is just getting ahead as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I'm doing the same thing in my life. But I mean, still getting 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. I mean, that's still a good solid, that's
11 hours.
11 hours. Yeah, right. 11
Yeah.
hours. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like that's still a pretty good schedule. And I guarantee that's more than 95% or 90% of the people on this call realistically do. And I know you do it intentionally as well, like you're not just sitting there like playing on your phone. Like your phone is continuously ringing. So I guess tell us about that. Like, as far as like how you work, just real quick, like what is like your method? Do you do like the copy and paste? Do you use a power dialer? Do you type in the numbers? What do you do to like get in as many calls as possible during those hours? Like how do you be intentional?
So at the beginning, I thought it'd be clever just to type it in on my phone. Figured out real quick that that's actually a lot slower. So what I do is I do have an iPad and I have the iPad connected to my iPhone. So I just open up Sheets on my iPad, and then from Sheets you just literally just tap it on the screen. You double tap and it hits call. So I just do call after call right there.
How many
And
dials a day do you think you hit?
mm, at least 150 leads to 250 per day. If it's a closer to 150, it's probably because I had a lot of presentations. 250 is probably didn't get that many presentations in, and then I still feel like I didn't dial enough at the end of the day. But what I do fight a lot is try not to scroll on my phone, just because you go to these meetings and they're like, hey, don't scroll on your phone, and I feel like that does take up a lot of time. And once you get on the call with the client, if you're scrolling on your phone, now you're thinking
يلا
of
إلى الإذان.
now you're thinking of the
نعم.
video that you just
أها
watched, and
ربع
instead of
ساعة
being
ربع.
100% ready of you know to convince these people that they put in this request.
Yeah. What's kind of like I know not going to go in like a whole lot of sales training on this call, but for
Okay.
you, what's kind of like your I guess your mindset and like how do you kind of treat the clients, right? Like would you say you're like very stern with them, you joke around a lot? What's kind of like your attitude when you're talking to the clients? And how do you treat them? Like what's your mindset like with the clients?
Mm, so what really set me uh, to really lock in my tonality and my cadence and my whole character with these people is I can't remember who it was that specifically said this. I think it might have been Mo Bush, where he said, whenever you go out to the airport and you got somebody, you got the information booth and you ask them a question, I kind of want to be that person, that information person, because at the end of the day, they put in this request. So I want to make sure that um, I'm specifically catering to their needs, which is whatever it is that they need. So I just keep my tonality as professional as possible. and I do throw in some jokes here and there if I kind of feel them out. But if they answer the phone and they're kind of like, what do you want? I kind of try and match them as much as possible. Well, it's like, sir, this calls in regards to that request that you submitted. So I if they're rude, I kind of give them the stern attitude. If they're super nice, they're like, yeah, I put in this request. I'm like, okay, sir, well, I'm just the medical underwriter assigned to this file. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have your date of birth here listed as, XYZ, and I kind of just go from there. I try to mirror them as much as possible. So, however the emotion is in the conversation, I feel it out in the first 5 seconds and give it back exactly how they give it to me.
Gotcha. Okay, so kind of just like mirroring them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard you've been like you're like friendly and you'll especially with the ladies, the widows. You're really. I feel like I've never heard you not close a widow. Do you have, do you have any advice for that? Obviously, a lot of people here run the veteran leads, and there's a good bit of widows in there. Like, is there anything specifically you do different for the widows?
Um, well, with the widows, I always ask them, okay, I'm like, okay, miss, so when your late husband did pass, did
Yeah,
anybody
that's
help
your
out with the
soul.
funeral expense, or did you kind of have to come out of pocket? And we kind of just go off of there. And okay, so nobody helped. Okay, all right, got you, ma'am. So with this request, you're just wanting to make sure if you were to pass away, that your funeral expenses were covered, right? And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, if we could do it." I'm like, "Okay, already, miss. Well, just so you know, there is still going to be a little bit of financial responsibility, okay? So if you were to pass away today, ma'am, do you have a beneficiary that would be responsible for picking up the pieces?" So that's probably the only other thing that I add into the script. So I do let them know that they are going to have to pay, just because a lot of the widows still think that it's going to be free.
Yeah.
So and I just don't want to waste my time with them for 10 minutes, and then they're like, oh, and then they just fucking hang up the phone when they find out that they have to pay. If I just want to make sure from the jump that they know they have to pay, to make sure that I'm not wasting any of my time.
Yeah. And then to ask you this too, Jesus, because I know this is probably something a lot of people on this call are wondering, is like all about leads, right? Like when should I start? A lot of new people, they don't know when to start buying leads. When did you start buying leads? And then also, like, at what point do you think people should start buying leads, right? I think for you, it's probably like Jesus had some issues with some of his state licenses, take a while to come in, so he did wait a little longer than most may. But Jesus, when did you start buying leads? And then like when do you think people should start buying leads, in your opinion? Because obviously leads is key to this business. And like you didn't really take off until you started buying leads.
Right, right. Yeah, I did not take off. Well, I mean, I did close 20 deals off of the free leads.
Mhm.
So I kind of had that goal imprinted in my head. Okay, close 20 deals and then start buying leads. And that took right around 9 weeks. So it was right around 9 weeks. At week nine, I was like, okay, I already closed 20 deals. I know if I spend some money, I'm 100% going to be able to close these people. So, I mean, honestly, I probably could have done it at 10 deals. It probably would have been a lot sooner. I may have, uh, you know, came up a lot faster. But I would say as soon as you feel you're comfortable with it, if you feel like you're comfortable with it, even 2 weeks in, you already closed 10 in 2 weeks. That means you're ready. But honestly, I would say as soon as you feel comfortable, but just be comfortable with accepting the fact that you're going to close the leads, because they put the request in at the end of the day, and it's your money. Once you start buying leads, it's your money, so you want to make sure that it is going to work, because you don't want to waste your money. So 100% whenever you're comfortable with it, but just trust in yourself that it is going to get closed if you already closed deals before.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, over like there's no such thing as free leads. There's only leads that somebody else paid for and is now
Right,
passed down to you, right? So like there's
right,
no such thing as free leads, people. If you don't know. There's
right,
leads that your upline or Mahmood or somebody paid for that have been dialed and then given to you. So free leads are there to, they're there to make money, they're there to learn on and to get comfortable with the job, but you're really never going to get to the level Jesus is at, or Colton or Eric or Mo Bush or Amar or Shane or any of the guys, Zach, any of the people you see on the leaderboards if you're not buying leads. Like it is a part of the business, right? Like this is a business, not like a job. That's why we make the comp that we do. But what do you, Jesus, what do you, so you waited a while to spend and so you had 20 deals roughly closed before you started buying leads. What did you start out spending per week, and then what are you at now?
So right there, right at that 20 deal threshold, I just spent 800, spent 800 a week for what was it? For pretty much a month. No, for 2 months. Yeah, I did 800 a week for 2 months. So January, I was still able to close. I think it came out to 57K for January, and that was all off of 800 a week leads. You know,
800, that's
leads.
3,200 bucks for $57,000. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and what did I tell you after that? I was like, bro.
You said up your lead spend, and then I didn't do it. 2 weeks into February, for whatever reason, the leads started coming in a little bit slow at 800. I was like, dang, I milked this for as much as possible, and then they started slowing down. So I just upped it week 3 in February to 1,200 a week, and this week I did 1,500. So this is going to be my first 1,500 a week on lead spend. Uh, so I'm excited for that for sure too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've never in like since the little over a year I've been doing this job, I haven't ever increased my lead spend and made less money. Because realistically you think about it like you up from 800 to 1,500, 800 to 1,200, like you're spending 300 or 400 more dollars a week, right? If you close half of a deal, you make that back easy, you know? So it's it's just a part of the game. But yeah, I mean closing 57K on 3,200 bucks is insane. I've never done that myself. That's ridiculous ROI. But before we open it up to questions, Jesus, like do you have anything else that like you'd want to talk about real quick? Just like anything specific in the script you do, like anything, wrapping up the deal, just really anything in general, like schedule wise, work ethic wise, anything you feel like you do that's really good, and then we can open it up for questions.
Um, Something that I did to improve my work ethic was doing that stopwatch method where whenever you're sitting down, you kind of time yourself to make sure that you are working for 10, 11, 12 hours a day. Just because sometimes, if you start that early and you leave that late, you will get up, you will wander, and you will scroll. So, uh, what I did to make sure that I was working is I did do that stopwatch method and made sure that I was hitting 8, 10, 11 hours a day. Just because I remember my first day doing it, I had sat down for 12 hours, but at the end of the day, once I looked at the stopwatch, I think it said like 8 hours and a half of actual dialing. So I had 2.5 hours where I was just BSing or on the phone with a friend, which that's something as well. That I've tried to cut out just because a lot of people will also call me that want to do non-work related activities that you kind of have to sacrifice. Like, hey, like I'm actually working right now. I could call you later on today. That that's honestly a big thing right there. Except if mom calls, if mom calls, you got to answer that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something for sure. Like like you got to be intentional, super intentional with your time, and like not like we're really spoiled because we kind of sit in our homes or our offices or at our desk. And in my opinion, like it's really not that hard to just sit there for 10 hours and dial the phone. Like it's kind of fun, right?
Uh,
But you can get distracted very easily. So you just got to make sure you stay locked in. That's the biggest thing I've seen with people that come from door to door that struggle here. It's not because they don't have the sales skills, but it's because they're not being forced to work. They're not dropped off in a neighborhood. And then it's hard for them to want to sit there and just actually intentionally work for 10 hours. So it's harder than you realize sometimes. So that is a good thing though, like doing the stopwatch method or doing something to make sure that you're being intentional with your time. Um, and then I guess we'll open up for questions. Anybody have any questions for Jesus? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask. Jesus has still been here really since like end of October, and he's issue paying over $40,000 every single month. So definitely a good person to ask, whether it's objections, advice, things you're struggling with. Like, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, I'll. Hey, Jesus, what's your why, bro? And I like everything you said, bro. You're killing it.
so for the ever since I had my daughter, my why was my daughter. And then once I got to life insurance, I was like, dang, what can I do to kind of level it up? which is, because at the end of the day, still, still made over 100,000 couple years, 200,000 one year. So I was like, man, what do I do to get to 400,000 this year? And I was like, okay, so my why is going to be me this year. I was like, I'm gonna prove it to myself that I could actually do this. Just because if I still do this for myself, I know that I'm still going to take care of my daughter, still going to take care of all my family as well. So I just want to prove it to myself that I could do it.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. So, how do you usually decide what carrier to go through? I haven't started dialing yet, so I was just wondering.
Uh, so it's just health questions, and if they go to the VA or not. Just make sure you're super thorough with it. Just because sometimes the VA will outsource these people to, community clinics as well. So if they say they go to the VA and they say they're not the healthiest individual, you're just always going to ask, sir, okay, and I understand you got all these health conditions. Are you sure you've absolutely over the last 20 years you've never been outsourced to any sort of community care, or you've never gone to any sort of hospital, ER visits? Just because if they do go to an ER, like let's just say they got into a car crash and then they take them to a regular civilian ER, they will update the medical records. So boom, all of their stuff will be there. So they won't get accepted for carriers like Americo, Mutual Omaha, even Aetna, um, American Amicable. So it's just really health questions. But a really good thing that we have in our Discord is we have a cheat sheet as well. So all of that stuff's in the Discord as well. So just make sure you go to the Discord, download that cheat sheet, keep it in your tabs, and then when you're asking the health questions, just make sure you control F on that cheat sheet. That way you can figure out exactly who it is that you need to go with. That way you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting the client's time.
I appreciate that, man. That's a good tip. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's some really good advice with the cheat sheet there. For people that don't know, if you're new or whatnot, look through all the different channels in the Discord. It's going to answer like 99% of the questions you have. And obviously, that's a good question. But yeah, make sure to utilize the cheat sheets and it also should not like, sorry to chime in, but the underwriting, like knowing which carrier, it does just kind of come with time, you know? Anybody else have any other questions though for Jesus here?
Yeah, so another question. So what would you say is like what's the difference between like spending $800 on the leads or spending like 1,000?
Um, we're about to find out this month. Just
Oh
just because
yeah. Yeah.
I did have a 57K month January, and then I had February was 53K, so it's kind of right around there, kind of the same, But all I did was spend 800 to 1,000, So, but it was also Valentine's Day. I did take a couple days off last month as well, and it is a short month as well, So we had 3 less days than we did the following month. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's just work ethic. I for sure know that I wasn't working as much as I was in January and February. So you just got to work more at the end of the day, especially if you're spending that much more on leads.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey Zeus, what's a non-negotiable that you noticed immediate change in your business as soon as you started following it? And I mean consistently.
A non-negotiable into the business dialing non-negotiably even oh, and you know what, a super non-negotiable is treating every single day like it's the best day ever. Even if you don't get nothing, you kind of just go and appreciate that day. Oh, thank God. Oh, I didn't close nothing today. I got all these objections. Thank God. Just because the next day you'll most likely close 3 or 5. And you just got to have that day. Jesus, thank goodness. Oh man. And yeah, just that's the non-negotiable right there. Just being appreciate everything, appreciate the objections, just because you got to get them out of the way. You could probably close 10 in a row, and then you're gonna have that one day or even 2 days where it's just you're completely cooked. But you just got to accept the fact that you got to have this day. Some people don't have those days, but for me, I've had multiple of those days, and I've had multiple amazing days as well, where like I said, you'll just close 10 in a row. So I'm honestly happy on the days where it's kind of slow. it's kind of like brain rot at the end of the day, just because you're like, man, I just dialed for 10 hours and nobody answered. But you have to get your dials in at the end of the day to get the closes. So just be as grateful as possible. That's a super non-negotiable.
I
I
got a
like that.
question.
Let's get it.
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what does your post-sale process look like?
What do you know, like following up with the client, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so you're done with the client, you gave them their policy number, you hung up on them, the sale's over. What do you do afterwards to follow up with the client? Do you do any kind of follow-ups? What does that process typically look like?
So that's actually, I as of right now I don't, but I've been looking to implement something just because I have heard of drip campaigns where they will follow up with the client for you. I haven't figured out that system yet. I know it's something that I do need to work on. That's why at the end of the day I'm here training as well. You know, I know I'm not perfect, but I know I could get better, and that's probably something that I should implement just because it'll probably produce a lot more stickier business. But uh, yeah, as of right now, I haven't, but I do always let people know that if they ever need to talk to me, I'm always, a phone call away, and I
Okay,
make it, I do try and keep it as comfortable as possible for them as well. I'll say, hey, um, if you ever do need to get a hold of me, I most likely will answer the phone. But if I don't, it's probably just because I'm either on the phone with another veteran or I'm spending time with my kid. But even if you call me on Christmas, I'm most likely still going to answer. But if I don't, I'll probably get back to you within the hour. So
gotcha.
I
Okay,
do try to create that friend at the end of the close, but I I know I need to get better on my follow up game. That's for sure. Probably get me some more referrals.
all right, gotcha, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of have a follow-up question on my prior question. It just goes a little bit deeper into one of your answers. I know you mentioned dialing as a non-negotiable. Was there a point in time where you saw yourself dialing that you thought was a lot, and then you really turned up the volume and that became like a non-negotiable for you that really changed the game, I guess? Like the month you hit 57K, did you notice yourself dialing more than usual, and then you kind of made that your non-negotiable, or how many dials would you say you're putting in per day?
You know what it was? It was the timer. So there was a point in time where I kind of stopped kind of keeping track of how many dials I was doing, but more keeping track of how long I was working my hours, just because you could go a day where nobody answers the phone and boom, you hit 400 dials, you know. So it's just really time management. And for me, yeah, it's 100% just time management. And oh, you know what I did keep track of as well that made me turn it up is keeping track of exactly how many presentations I did. So that's what I do keep track of. So sometimes I don't even really look at the number of dials that I do, but I do look at how many presentations I did, just because sometimes I'll, like if I do 150, 250 dials, sometimes you'll only get one presentation in, and that'll be your one close of the day. So just keep track of your presentations is a big thing for me.
What's your like what do you shoot for presentation wise every single day to know that you're gonna hit the numbers that you want to for that week? If that makes
I've been
sense.
trying to turn it up to at least six presentations a day, just because I know if I do six, I'll at least close three out of the six, and then if I do three by six, that's 18 deals. That's really what my goal is at the end of the week.
I appreciate it a lot.
Yes, sir.
Do you take notes like about your presentations, like what you could have
Uh,
done differently and stuff like that?
I do take notes of the client as well, and I do have a sheet on my computer. I call it my client intake sheet. So that's where I take notes of the client, just in case if they do ever call me back and I pull up their file. I'm like, okay, this is what they like to do. This is who they are. These are their beneficiaries. This is what their beneficiaries do. So when I'm on the phone with the client, I'll try to take as many notes of the client as possible, just to remind myself as well, just because I don't have the best memory, and just in case if we're going through the presentation and I need to build more of a why, I kind of go back to my notes to figure out exactly what their why is, to remind them. So this is for your daughter at the end of the day, Sarah, right? You did mention that Sarah lives with you and you kind of pay all of the bills, right? So wait, is Sarah in the financial position to cover this mortgage if anything was to happen to you? And then they kind of tell you yes or no, and even if they say yes, okay, So with this, you just want to make sure if anything did happen to you that Sarah doesn't have to dip into her savings, and you want to make sure that the mortgage is covered, right? So 100% take notes on everything they say.
Hey, great advice, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Joey and Jesus. So what's sorry, Dane's closing, but what's one obstacles that you guys faced in this business so far, and how'd you guys overcome that?
You go first, Jesus.
Mm, Positivity, just because at the beginning, it's just really hard being positive, but you just got to remember, there's that learning curve. There's that learning curve. Accept the fact that there's a learning curve, or yeah, it's just it was for sure the positivity. I had to accept the fact that there was a learning curve, and that this the first 2 months are going to be your lowest paid months. And once I accepted that fact, once I started going into every day thinking that it was going to be an amazing day, that's when my numbers just started skyrocketing.
If you were asking me to, I'd say just investing in the business, right? Like at the end, I've had a bunch of different sales jobs, and I guess I did have expenses at my last one, but it wasn't really the same. With this one, like every time I've reinvested in the business, I've been happy that I did that. Whether that's, getting a virtual assistant for your book of business, getting a virtual assistant for recruiting, spending more money on leads, that type of stuff. At the end of the day, you have to have like a long-term vision of like, where do I want to take this? And as long as your net income is still good enough to where you can invest a little bit of money and, you know, pay your bills, like why would you not want to reinvest the rest to try to build this thing as big as possible? So I would say that, like reinvesting your income for me. And then, being positive as well, right? Like like Jesus said, I still have a terrible day and a great day every single week. Like I still have a bagel day almost every single week, you know, it's going to happen. Anybody else have any questions for Jesus?
Hey, Zeus, what's some long-term goals, or what's your main goal by the end of the year? Where do you see yourself by the end of the year, brother?
So I used to think it was Hall of Fame, but I just upped it to 560K, you know, AP. So that's the main goal right now, and I do want to make sure I could get 50 agents under me, and I can show them all how to make or produce at least 40,000 a month as well.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yes, sir. So really, the main goal is just to train other people to show them how wealth is made and how they could trust into themselves and generate that wealth for themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, for people that are wondering, Hall of Fame, that's kind of like, a lot of people's goal to hit Hall of Fame. If you have all 12 months, it's only like 33,500 bucks IP per month. It's not that crazy. Um, Anybody else got any questions for Jesus though? Jesus, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any words of wisdom for the people here?
Just trust in yourself and dial those leads. As long as you do that, you guys are gonna make some money. End of the day, keep it positive, and positivity is gonna come your way.
Oh yeah. That's one of the biggest things too I'll leave on this is just like I've noticed with Jesus, and I've noticed this with most people who do well in this, is they don't complain about leads. I've had a lot of people on my team come and sometimes go if it's when they come in, they have a negative mindset about the leads, like, oh my gosh, they said they didn't fill it out. Like, bro, who cares? Next lead, you know? I'm not saying, don't question things ever. I'm not saying like just be a sheep and just do exactly what, and you're not allowed to ask questions. Like, it's not what I'm saying, but if you have that mindset of like, if somebody else is using this lead system and this script and it's working for them, then it should be working for me as well. And you have to, at the end of the day, take accountability on yourself, because Jesus is using the 4x4 leads that most people in this agency are using. So am I. Everyone's using the same leads. We all got the same script. Um, so everything does work. And if you let negativity creep in your mind, and you start having doubt in the system, the leads, the script, whatever it is, right? Like if you have doubt, then it's going to show. And even if you are the type of person where you tell yourself, no, the clients can't tell, like the clients can't tell, that's not that because like I'm still working the exact same. No, you're not. It's just like you're not. The universe doesn't allow that to happen. So you have to be positive no matter what. That is number one. You have to have a really good mindset in sales, and Jesus does a really good job of that. So,
Yeah.
anybody else have any questions?
And my
Go
bad
ahead.
to lead up with that. Also, just don't get your head too big to the point where once you do start closing some deals that you think you're kind of at the end of the day, you are him and you are her, but just keep absorbing as much knowledge as possible just to keep getting better.
Yeah, life insurance is a huge industry. And at the end of the day, there's people doing crazy things, right? So we all have a lot to learn. Anybody else got anything for Jesus? If not, let you guys go and happy Monday. All right,
Hey,
guys and girls. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, hey, Jesus. I'm a first time chatter here, and I'm just want to know, like, what got you into insurance, and like, when did you know, like, yeah, this is it, like, this is my career.
Talking to Joey Connolly and Mr. Mahmood Nasser, that was day one. I liked their attitude, so I figured. Uh, I was just tired of believing into other people, so I wanted to trust more in myself. And in this industry, you're just 100% trusting in yourself, and I trust me at the end of the day. With setting solar accounts, you hand off the deal to somebody else, and you kind of hope that they close the deal for you. Like I said, you could always self-gen a deal too in solar, but it just takes too long. My I don't have that attention span where I could spend 3 hours with somebody. Maybe Joey did it, you know, quicker, but just for me, it just isn't it. But probably the traveling, going to that Ignite event, and we were out in Miami. I was like, dang, everybody's young as heck. I figured, wow, everybody's young, everybody's getting money. That we got to figure it out over here. So day one, I already knew, from that Ignite event, that this was it.
Yeah, Jesus was going for runs at 6 a.m. in Fort Lauderdale. That was my first time meeting Jesus. But he was going for runs. That's when I was like, yeah, he's a dog.
Hey, healthy lifestyle,
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Let's make it a great freaking week. These people are waiting for us. They need our help. What we do is good.
Yes,
Believe in
sir.
your process, trust your process, and work hard, put in 10, 12 hours every single day dialing, have a good mindset, and I promise you it is impossible to fail. Reach out for help whenever you need it. That's what everybody here in this agency is for. So let's get
Let's
it.
get it.
Have a good
Let's
week.
get it.